Warm greetings, Code Monkeys and fellow Vedsies, and welcome back to CodedLockFilms. Today's the first day of VEDS, beginning with a commentary, as I so often do, and I am joined here by my good friend Matt. Say hello to the people, Matt.
Hello, people.
All right. So, this is obviously the books versus movies review that I did of How the Grinch Stole Christmas Christmas. And so, this was not something that I told you that I was doing.
No.
I did tell you, I think I wrote it in the card that I knew was going to arrive like a couple weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
That your gift was going to go up on my YouTube channel on the 25th. So when you saw that, did you have any inkling that I might be doing something like this? Or?
I didn't. I had no idea what you had planned. I honestly had... Yeah, I had no idea. I figured it'd be something, some sort of tribute or something, but I didn't know what it would entail at all. And this was a complete surprise when it popped up. And I did film a reaction video. You asked me, you suggested that I could do that, and I did film a reaction video. I haven't put it up on YouTube yet. I probably will at some point. I may have between the time that we're recording this and the time that we actually see it. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it, and it's had I wanted to do this review, this is probably the approach I would have taken.
Yes, yeah. That was kind of the idea. And the sort of beginning little framing device that I did here in this video was more or less true, except I obviously wasn't rhyming when it happened. So I actually the first time I got this idea was when you did that 10 books versus movies that we will never do video. Back in, I think it was 2015 was when you...
I think, yeah.
Yeah. And it was at that time that I first got the idea for this, because I was seeing kind of the list, and I've actually seen most of the Dr. Seuss live action, or I mean, two of them aren't live action, but feature film adaptations. The only one I haven't seen in full is Horton Hears a Who. I've seen about 10 minutes of it, and those 10 minutes were more than enough. I didn't feel that if the movie was starting as it meant to go on, then I probably didn't need to devote the rest of my time to it. But yeah, so I I felt pretty confident in saying that Horton was a pile of garbage, despite not having seen it. But I thought, I do have, and I find that a lot of people, I know your brother Jeffrey rather enjoys the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Yeah,
and I find it's a...
I do too, to be honest. I have kind of a weird relationship with it. I enjoy watching it, but I also just didn't feel like it was super appropriate for a books versus movies review.
Right.
And I notice you've got very much the season 1 style of books versus movies review here going, with the intro and everything.
Yeah, I wanted it to feel kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mainly, I felt that it would be the least complicated to recreate.
Oh, for sure. For sure, yeah.
Especially because I was only going to be doing it for the one thing. The most fun part that I had there was the little ticker of the books versus movies that go across the top.
Oh, aren't those great?
Yeah, some of my favorites one in there were there was the April Fool's video that you did a couple years ago about the Catcher in the Rye, and how there's that movie called The Catcher in the Rye that's however many minutes and 6 seconds of blue screen. I don't remember the minutes. I remember it's 6 seconds of blue screen.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, so that was that was one of them. I had the Phantom Tollbooth and the Phantom Tollbooth film adaptation on there. I had the 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual and the Dungeons and Dragons movie. That one was fun to put together.
I'll have to look at those more closely.
Yeah, they're all they're all entertaining. I find I've had a couple of people comment just saying that like that one of their favorite things was going back and just pausing and just going frame by frame and watching all of the different ones that come across.
Yeah.
The only one there that's not terribly clear is that there's The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the book, and then there's a Russian version of Winnie the Pooh that's really, really bizarre called Winnie Pooh.
Oh, jeez.
You can find clips of it online. It's very, very strange.
Oh, my.
Like, if you feel like, if you feel like falling down one of the weirder internet rabbit holes, there's one. But yeah, so I found that I really do... I do enjoy the Jim Carrey Grinch, and the conclusion that I came to eventually is that is almost entirely to do with Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Grinch. I think he does something really special with the performance. But I had never really thought about why. It was something that I enjoyed, back when I first saw it, and that was back before I was really, thinking terribly critically about anything that I saw, right? So my first thought was, well, I remember enjoying it, but maybe it's actually a pile of crap. Let's go back and watch this. And I went back and watched it, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I still enjoy this. It took me a while to figure out exactly what it was and whether it was like anything in particular besides Jim Carrey, and it really is mostly him. He's a fantastic physical actor. Really great at that, sort of exaggerated performance style. But I found that both him and Taylor Momsen really did it for me in this movie. And Max isn't so bad either. I really do like how he has sort of a Jiminy Cricket thing going on with the Grinch in this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was one of those things where I'm like, yeah, the book is still definitely going to be better, just because, like, not so much because of what it has, but what the movie has. And the movie is about, I would say, half stuff that I really like and half stuff that we could do without this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something. And one of the things that I got a kick out of that you're doing with the review is how you said that your book character rhymes the entire time.
Yes.
And your movie character rhymes only occasionally, because that's the way it goes with the book, and throwing a little bit of that genre stuff that I typically do.
And what I was doing there, actually, it was a kind of a little trick where one of the main things that I was worried about for a while is, obviously there have been plenty of rhyming reviews of Christmas things, reviews done entirely in rhyme. It's a bit of a thing. And I find that it can get kind of tedious. So I'm like, I was trying to think of a way to kind of break that up so that the rhyming gimmick didn't overstay its welcome. And that ended up being how I was going to do it. Was I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, no, the Hatter persona does not have to rhyme the whole time, because the movie does not have to rhyme the whole time, and that's how I'm going to kind of get around it, and also say some of the more complex things that are a bit more verbose and hard to put into rhyming form.
Yeah, like I know I would have a hard time rhyming the entire time for that very reason. Like, thinking back to when I did the Books versus Movies Review musical,
yes.
like I had, obviously couldn't have music going the entire way through. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get some of the more salient points into the review.
Yeah. The other thing that I was not sure about when I first had the idea for this, though, is that I had never actually read the book.
Oh, really?
I had never actually sat down and read it. It was one of those things that I had seen the movie,
the animated movie,
and I think that's pretty much the definitive version of the Grinch story. I mean, it's the book, but there's just a little more to it. It's got obviously the catchy song to it,
right?
It's got obviously it defined the fact that the Grinch is green, which is not present in the book.
Right.
And it's also, it gives the Grinch a bit more of his now very distinctive look.
Yeah.
Because in the book, he looks a lot more like a traditional Who. Just he happens to be hairy all over, but otherwise he looks very much like a Who, and his proportions and his faces are all more exaggerated in the original, like animated short,
Right.
Which again is probably why I think it has kind of eclipsed the book in terms of general, pop cultural knowledge. Like what people think of when they think of the Grinch is that movie and not so much the book. So I was expecting, just based on the fact that I had also seen the Lorax, which is actually my favorite Dr. Seuss book. There was one of those sort of very, very straightforward retelling sort of adaptations with songs added of the Lorax. And the stories are not terribly different as far as like adaptations go, and I was pretty much expecting the same to be true of this, kind of going in reverse, and it definitely did fulfill my expectations in that regard. I found that the main thing that I lost, kind of going backwards in that regard, was that the pacing of the book is definitely different from that sort of original animated short. Just because of the nature of it, like the little movie has little quiet moments here and there where it's just, small bits of animation and, little music cues going on.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's probably another part of the reason why that works as well as it does and why it's kind of eclipsed the book in popularity. But basically the book was just, was about as simple as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And basically the thing I was kind of struggling to decide was kind of that final round where I'm like, there are things in this movie that I clearly like better than the book, but there are also things in this movie that I really, really do not like. Just things that are superfluous, things that are dumb, things that are annoying, that just don't really add anything. And I kind of, I could have gone either way. And I mean, and if I'm honest, if I'm given the choice between rereading the book and rewatching this movie, I'll probably pick to watch the movie more often than not. But I do still think that the book does tell the better story, if the simpler one. And that was kind of the conclusion that it was harder for me to reach, was it can be hard to separate, what you like from what you think is genuinely better. And that's, I really like the movie Sky High, but I would not, call it one of the best movies ever. And being able to make that separation, I think, is tremendously important, and it's something that a lot of people do not know how to do.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing I ran into with this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if the movie had taken a lot of those aspects out, like the aspects that essentially make it into a Jim Carrey movie. Like Jim Carrey makes a particular type of movie.
Yes, he does.
And the aspects that make it into a quintessential Jim Carrey movie, if those aspects had been taken out of the movie, I think the movie probably would have been better than the book, just because it does dive a little bit more deeply into the character, into the Grinch, and it does dive, and I like those aspects that it dives more deeply into, and I even like a lot of the humorous aspects. Yeah. But there are some moments, and I haven't watched the movie for a while now, but there are some moments where I just know I watch and I just kind of like I don't even crack a smile, because there are just certain things about it that just do not strike me as funny, and that might just be my own sense of humor, but they don't strike me as funny. And I think it's a little weird when you take a children's book and make it into a PG-13 movie. Is this PG or PG-13?
This is PG-13, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Oh, either way.
No, it is PG. The line is the movie's so crass that PG was its rating, and for a kids movie that's kind of I-rating or something like that is the rhyme.
Yeah, so I kind of feel the same way about that. Like, PG's not bad, but it's still, it's going to have some stuff in it where the parental guidance is suggested.
So speak of the devil.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, no, you know, things that they didn't need to be there, but because that's kind of Jim Carrey's brand of humor, they felt obligated to put it in.
Yeah, and you know, I struggle to think like, you know, like what they could have replaced it with, you know, because obviously you can't just take all that stuff out because then you have, you know, you're lacking a certain through line, but it would be hard to really go into the Who's all that much without them being incredibly dull, because that's, you know, that's not really the point of them.
Yeah.
And if the fact that the Who's are, you know, kind of commercially obsessed and things like that, if that has one positive aspect, is that it does help to do good things with the character of Cindy Lou Who. Who, you know, her character is basically entirely invented for this movie. And it's the kind of character that would be that really is all in the execution, and I think it's executed really well. It's kind of a nebulous thing to try and figure out, like, what keeps the little kid character from being insufferable, because they often are.
They are.
In movies like this. And this is coming from somebody who, like, I love kids, you know, I'm a preschool teacher, I work with kids all day. But there's just something about the little kid in Hollywood movies that are, you know, otherwise adult casts that often ends up being the worst thing in it. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. And as we're getting to this part, a big part of the reason I did this review was to get to this part here, where I do the little, what I call the montage of Matt. I like in this moment that background singer number 4 very briefly pops up in the bottom there. I wish I'd had a better hat there for the wizard. And really this is the moment I was kind of leading up to, was this little song. I've always enjoyed singing like this song as a karaoke.
And you have the voice for it.
Yes. It was actually surprisingly difficult to come up with lyrics that didn't sound particularly forced in this regard. But the little nod to the choreography and versus movies and musical. I'm really proud of the little montage of Matt, and the line, "Your story needs an editor that's armed with garden shears." This definitely, I think, has a very retro kind of Bang Geek 8408 feel to it.
It really does. This felt like one of my older videos.
Yeah, especially in the this was another thing that I had a hard time thinking of, was like, how am I gonna end the thing, right? Because I knew I didn't want to do the full-on song. I wanted to have it get interrupted. Yeah. And the thing that came to me was E.T.
And I should mention, when you first came in with your E.T. line, I honestly thought you'd found a recording of me. Like, I did. Did he find a recording of me? And then it's like, oh no, that's him. Like, you got E.T.'s inflection like perfectly.
Yeah, I mean,
which you've written for his character before, so.
Yeah, I think that E.T. is the Bang Geek 8408 character that I've written for the most.
I think so.
Because the primary thing that I, you know, did a lot of, you know, character writing for was the what do you call it? The Watchmen books versus movies review, which,
right,
you know, the intro of that, you know, heavily features E.T. E.T.'s he's a pretty easy character to get a handle on in a lot of regards.
He is.
But capturing that voice, you know, like I also, you know, I've written, you know, scenes between him and the Anomaly. So he's definitely the character I have the most experience with, but mainly just because he's the most fun, and I just like using him.
Oh, I love writing for E.T. I absolutely love writing for E.T. He's a blast. He's a chance for me to get out my inner rage at things.
Yes. Well, that we're a little over time here, but do you have anything final that you want to say before we close it out here?
Just thank you for making this. It was extremely entertaining, and if I haven't already, I will get that reaction video up at some point soon.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. It was a joy to make. Yeah, so thank you for joining me for this commentary.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I hope that everybody has enjoyed listening to this. As per usual, I will be explaining what VEDS is on the second day of VEDS. It's kind of a thing now, I suppose. Yeah. So until next time, well, until tomorrow, Code Monkeys and fellow VEDSies, I will see you later.